Everybody, welcome back to the Spurs 9501 podcast. I've got Stephen Jablonski from the Vermont Spurs Supporters Club here with us now to give his views on two main topics, on the Mourinho sacking and also the European Super League. Welcome back to the show, Stephen. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
Great to see you. So, Stephen, there's two main things which have rocked the world of football or soccer, as you call it in the US. Let's start with the first one, the sacking of Jose Mourinho. Give us your thoughts around that.
I mean, I can't say I didn't see it coming. The writing's been on the walls for a while now. His body language, particularly in the Everton game, seemed to suggest that his time was done. I'm a little surprised they did it before the cup final.
Yeah.
You know, you bring Mourinho in to win you some trophies. He's got you in the final, and you just get rid of him. I mean, I get why they did it. It still seems a little weird. I don't know that it puts the team in a better or worse position right now. I have to think that it's definitely the right thing to do. Let me get that out of the way. Mourinho was not bringing Spurs anywhere that they needed to be. But I don't know that the club has necessarily done itself any favors with the timing of it. To me, it suggests that they've got somebody in mind to take over, and they want to move on it quickly so that they can get, essentially to the front of the line before anybody else has the opportunity to start negotiation.
I think we all know who you're talking about there.
Yep. I'm super excited, and to be honest, Julian Nagelsmann is probably like the dream pick for Spurs right now. He's a young manager. He's got the experience of working with a top club, working in the Champions League and doing well for himself. So he's an exciting manager. I'm super glad to be linked with him. That said, there's going to be a lot of competition. If the rumors are true that Bayern's also looking for his signature, how do Spurs really compete with that? Bayern's on a whole other level.
Yeah.
There's a couple things working in our favor, right? Nagelsmann said he wants to manage in the Premier League. He's, I feel he said before that he's not keen on taking what he would consider the end step of his career, which would be managing a top tier club. And to be honest, with Spurs, we're not quite at that Bayern Munich level. So it does make sense for him to want this as a stepping stone, to try to expand his resume a bit, and kind of prove that he can do it. So there's a lot of factors in play here. I'm not quite sure if Spurs will be able to land him even with sacking Mourinho the way they did and trying to push a deal through. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, so, Steve, let me ask you, you mentioned the timing. I mean, 5 days before a cup final, your first cup final for God knows how long, or no, for a few years anyway, and you sack your manager. Surely your chances of winning have just decreased now, haven't they? Why would you do that?
Yeah, there's a whole, there's the mind games that Mourinho would have played with Pep Guardiola that may or may not have worked out. From an outside perspective, as just strictly speaking as a fan, the only reason that I could see them doing it is if they were confident that Mourinho's approach would not have worked. And the way, we played City a couple weeks back and didn't look super great. So I understand the logic behind it. But that said, to install Ryan Mason as interim manager, he's somebody who's only really been involved in a youth setup. He hasn't managed a top level team. He's going to be the youngest, person to manage a Premier League game so far, 29 years of age. It's a lot of pressure for him. I was just watching his press conference earlier today ahead of the Southampton game, and he's saying all the right things. He wants Spurs to play that attacking, Tottenham signature style. I know he's got a lot of good friends in the squad, having played with many of them, back up through 2015-16 season. So, he's got the respect there. He knows what Tottenham's about. He's a passionate person. He's been with the club since 8 years old. if there's anybody who is going to get Spurs, I think, attacking and really trying to show the fans that, hey, yeah, we can be passionate too, it's Mason. I'm not super upset with it. I'm more concerned that, is he really the person you want to put in charge to go head to head with Pep Guardiola of all people? I'm just not so sure. I think it's one of those things where they don't really care about the cup at this point and just are focused purely on trying to get like a Nagelsmann in for them for next season.
So this is just a stopgap, manage the ship while we try and get Nagelsmann. But let me ask you a question. Wouldn't you have thought that maybe Harry Redknapp would have been a better bet for 6 or 7 games, big time manager, get the guys, riled up? I'm not sure. Ryan Mason, like you said, he's never managed the top flight. He's got no clue against some of these big guys like Pep Guardiola, etc. What do you think, Stephen?
Yeah, it's difficult. I almost wonder if somebody like a Redknapp would have wanted more than just managing 6 games, and this was, maybe it was just a case of, hey, you're on the stadium already, you're at the training grounds. Can you just take over for a little bit? Almost like a Tim Sherwood-esque type signing. He was already there. He already knows the guys. Just take the reins, run with it, see what you can do. At the end of the day, I don't think it really matters to the higher ups as much as it does to the fans.
Does this mean that Harry Kane's definitely not fit then? Because it means we've got no chance of winning if he's put Ryan Mason in charge. Because come on, Ryan Mason tactically against Pep Guardiola, it's a mismatch.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. I don't think that, and no disrespect to Ryan Mason.
No, it's not his fault.
Yeah, exactly. He's put in a tough spot, and maybe he pulls off this fairy tale win. That would be fantastic. I think all of us as fans would love to see that. But Guardiola, he's gonna have he's been practicing with this team for years now. Like that team is well drilled. They know what he wants. They know what they need to do for him. Ryan Mason's got 5 or 6 days to get his team behind his style. It's a lot to ask for anybody, let alone somebody who it's their first shot at a top club. It's going to be an uphill battle for him. And I'm really curious to see how it plays out. Because I really do. I hope he succeeds. I hope he gets us that win. But I just don't know how he does it.
Yeah, exactly. I think part of the reason for the sacking, what they're saying here, is to bury the news because of the European Super League, etc. Try and bury the Mourinho news in there, etc. Why sack somebody on a Monday? Why not do it straight after the Everton game? Just doesn't make any sense. I think there's something more behind this, Stephen.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think part of the cynical side of me says that it's 100% a distraction. But the more I think about it, I don't think it's necessarily distracting us as fans. I think it was calculated. I truly think that they knew this would blow up in their faces and that fans would be completely against it. I think the reason they did it when they did was to prevent the players themselves from being able to react to it properly. Right. You listen to Ryan Mason's press conference, earlier today, and he just flat out said, everybody around here, it's chaos almost. They're trying to figure out, Mourinho's gone. They've got to focus on, understanding Ryan Mason's tactics and how are they going to get behind him? New training, new regiment. There's a whole lot going on. I think that they did that to distract the people inside the club more than anything else. Sure. Because you've already got players like Bruno Fernandes. He came out with in opposition to it. It sounds like Jordan Henderson was trying to get all the club captains together to have an emergency talk of sorts.
They can't do anything, Stephen. They don't own the clubs. They play for the club. The clubs could say, if you don't like it, move on. We'll sell you somewhere else. There's big money involved. We'll come on to the European Super League. But I want to just, when we finish off with Mourinho, he's gone now. Let's close the chapter. Like him or loathe him, he's gone now. You mentioned Nagelsmann. Give me, a few more potential managers you wouldn't mind seeing at Tottenham if we couldn't get Nagelsmann.
Ten Hag from Ajax would be an interesting one, I think.
I've heard that name as well mentioned before, Ten Hag, yep.
Yeah, I think he's somebody who's going to be a big name in a few years, once he moves on from Ajax. The other name that I've heard that I actually really like is the Lille coach, Gaultier.
Oh
Just
no, I've
something.
not heard that one. Yeah, is he good? Lille top of Ligue 1, are they?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah.
He would be an interesting one, I think. I don't know that he's necessarily had a lot of people reporting on him, but just the way that he's brought that club to be competitive within the league, even going up against the likes of PSG. I think he'd be an interesting candidate too. 54 years,
Yeah,
he's.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind that either.
Let me throw some other names at you and see what you think of them. What about Brendan Rodgers of Leicester?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Brendan Rodgers, and for Spurs specifically.
Yeah.
I think he's done great work. Where he's gone, he's kept Leicester in the top four. That's something that even Mourinho couldn't do with
Yeah.
Spurs. So no disrespect to him as a manager. I think he's a great manager. I just don't think that he's the right fit for Spurs.
In what way is he not the right fit? He plays the same free-flowing football we all like. What fit don't you mean he's not right?
He's got a tendency to kind of, and this might be a little Spursy to say, he has a tendency to kind of collapse at the end of seasons.
Well, that's typical. He's ideal for Spurs, then, isn't he?
Exactly. But for as a fan, where I want Spurs to be, I don't
Yeah.
want somebody who's going to come in and reinforce that Spurs are just going to drop points at the end of the season.
No,
because that's
I
what they
understand.
do.
Yeah. Okay, so Brendan Rodgers one. What about another one? Let me give you another name. What about Hansi Flick from Bayern?
That would be interesting. Here's somebody who's won a lot too. I think he's probably going to end up taking over for Germany. When Lowe steps down, I think that's his probable career path. He could be an interesting one. I just don't think he's going to come to Spurs.
Okay, Joachim Löw, the former Germany manager.
Yeah, I almost get a sort of vibe that he's burnt out almost. He won the World Cup with Germany, and then it's just kind of been on a decline since then.
Yeah,
I think he's somebody who would benefit from maybe some time away to kind of rest up, recharge.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, let me give you another one from left field. What about Antonio Conte? Assuming he wins the title with Inter, he's got unfinished business in UK in the Premier League. What about getting Conte? He's a proven winner. He's won it in Italy. Now he's won in England. Now he's going to win it in Italy. What do you think of Conte?
Yeah, he's more of a defensive-minded coach. Which honestly, if I think if we had the players for him, he would be a great fit. But he's somebody who, if he were to come in, and the same, I'm going to say the same exact thing for Allegri, who's somebody whose name's been thrown out.
Yeah, Max Allegri. Yeah.
Yeah, you really need to invest in your defense to make that happen. Spurs, I think we as fans, we were willing to give Mourinho the benefit of the doubt if he got results. And the way our defense has performed this season, it's not a squad that can, work with Conte or work with an Allegri and really get, a really solid defensive shape to grind out results. If you're going to go with somebody like that, you really need to double down, get some center backs in there, reinforce, your anchor point so that Højbjerg's not your only person playing in that position. I think that I don't like that for the sole reason that I want to see Skip involved in the club next season. And I think that if you get Conte or an Allegri in there, they're going to want a proven anchor point and make Højbjerg more of the rotation in that position. And I would much rather give it to Skip. I think he's somebody who looks like he's earning a chance.
Okay. And what one other name that's thrown in there, I think rather mischievously thrown in there, Maurizio Sarri.
I don't think there's a single way that happens. I think
he's a winner. He's won the Europa League Cup.
Yeah, he's. I don't think there's anything to that. I would be honestly shocked if they went with Sarri. And I know Gold has come out and said there's nothing to that, and I'm inclined to agree. I don't think that he's somebody that the club would consider at all.
Sure. Okay. Excellent, Steve. Well, really great. Thanks very much for your thoughts. That's really impressive. Sorry. Let's touch on the European Super League. I mean, things are still unfolding as we speak. But what's your general thoughts on the ESL?
We actually had a long conversation in the Vermont supporters group about this. Being based in the U.S., we understand what they're going for with that structure. The guaranteed revenue for these top clubs. It would make them financially more secure. The problem that I think we have with it, and certainly everybody else, is that it's just a complete money grab. it sucks the soul out of the sport. It just makes it all about the money. And I don't think any of the fans that I've seen so far really care about the money. We don't care about the finances. You know, we want it to be competitive. We want it to be fair. You know, if Spurs went through with this, you know, if the Big Six really went through with this, all it does, assuming that they stay in the Premier League too, it just creates a gap. You know, nobody can compete with that. You've got, you know, Norwich is coming back up. They're not going to be able to come in and financially go toe to toe with anybody in the top six at that point. So all of a sudden, a Cinderella story like Leicester a few years ago, there's just no way that happens anymore. And for me, there's just, you know, what's the fun in that, you know?
Yeah, it becomes boring, doesn't it? And the same teams playing each other all the time. I mean, one of the things is JP Morgan are meant to be bankrolling this. They're offering 300 million for each of the clubs just to join. And one of the things that's being mentioned here in the UK is this is all kicked off because of the American owners. So FSG, Stan Kroenke, the Glazers, these guys are used to this type of commercial model where they break away and they do this, and they're the ones pushing it. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It for them, it's got to make perfect sense. You know, they're not invested in you know, the European you know, football culture. They don't. I don't think they care. You know, it's all about the bottom line for them.
Exactly.
What's interesting to me is you know, you've got somebody like Daniel Levy, who is a self-proclaimed Tottenham fan, and you know, the more I think about it, I honestly think he is somebody who's going along because, from a financial perspective, he'd be crazy not to, right? You know, we just financed this massive top of the line stadium, best in the country by far. And they're in a lot of debt. You know, COVID hit, they didn't get the ticket sales. They didn't get events coming in. You know, I from strictly a business perspective, you know, if somebody comes along and says, hey, we can guarantee you 300 million, you know, a year just to be in this league, you know, he almost has to do it, you know, just to keep the club afloat.
It's a question of, you know, he doesn't want to be left out, does he? He has to be part of it, really.
Yeah.
But I think what they're saying here in the media is it just takes one of the Big Six to sort of get wobbly feet and drop out, and they'll all drop out. It'll be a domino effect. So there's still things unfolding at the moment, and I think there's more to come on this one, really. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that Levy or Joe Louis or any of them would really be upset if it fell apart. I think I truly, you know, the lifelong Spurs fan in me truly wants to believe that they're only doing this so that they can, you know, pay off the stadium debt. And, you know, if you know, Boris Johnson, I saw that, you know, he wants to push some you know, regulation to prevent it from happening. If they did that and the top six were forced to withdraw, I don't think he would be terribly upset with that. I think the people who have the most to lose are going to be, you know, the Glazers, FSG Group. You know, they're the ones.
Stan Kroenke, I mean, I wouldn't mind 300 million if we thought it's going to be spent on players, but not even a single penny of that is going to be spent on players. It's going to be financing the debt of the stadium, basically. That's all it's for.
Exactly. You know, and
the better thing for us, Stephen, would have been stay in the Premier League. We'll never have a better chance to win it without Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United, Man City there. We'd have had a great chance to win it, wouldn't we?
Oh, yeah, definitely, without a doubt. You know, I'm sure. And it would still be fun, too. You know, it's not like, you know, without them, Spurs go straight to the top. We would still be competing with
of course,
Leicester, Everton. Definitely. West Ham's having a good season.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Stephen, listen, thanks very much for your time. You know, thanks for giving us your views, really interesting views on the Mourinho saga and the ESL, and we'll definitely catch up soon. This is Ray signing off from the Spurs 9501 podcast. It's goodbye for me in London. And Stephen?
Yeah, come on, you Spurs. Thanks for having me. Hopefully we can, you know, get back to not being seen as the villains across Europe right now.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, mate. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye.